Hey, this is Cousin Chief at GC Radio, also Square Ring Magazine. Today, I have with me the honor and proud of having the one and only Marshall in the building, Kauffman. How you doing today, sir?
Good, good. How you doing?
Challenged and inspired, Marshall. Challenged and inspired. So, you and I both are boxing enthusiasts, but the difference between you and I is you one of the guys behind the scene that make things happen. So, what fascinated you and got you into boxing?
I used to box myself. So uh, I was boxing back in 1981, 1983. And, of course, I fell in love with the sport. Uh, and then in I want to say 1983 to 85, I was training a friend of mine and we couldn't get a fight for him. So then I did my own show in August. It was 1985. It was the I want to say I did my own show in 1985. It was a pro day. My friend that I was training, we couldn't get a fight, and we saw the politics of boxing. So I thought, well, I'm going to do my own show, and we did a show, and from there on, I just got addicted to it, and the rest is history. It's like almost like doing my first hit of crack. Yeah, I mean, it got me addicted. You know what I mean?
Right. So let me ask you a question. What age were you when you first got into boxing, when you first started boxing?
I was 18. I was 18 years old. My uncle had his own gym, and so what had happened was, I went down. I went down to see my dad, and my dad said that his brother, my uncle, had a gym, and we used to slap box on the streets. I grew up in the inner city, so friends of mine, we used to slap box on the streets a lot. So my dad said, "Oh, well, if you think you're that good, then why don't you go over to the gym?" We went over to the gym, and the rest is history. Just fell in love with the sport of it, and I was getting ready for my own pro fight, and then there again, the politics of it took place, and I ended up having an exhibition fight because the guy that I was supposed to fight pro against ended up didn't want to fight me in a pro fight, so they ended up doing an exhibition back in the day, back then, and I want to say that was 1984 or 1985, uh, and then that's when I just decided to start doing my own thing after that.
So how many
And
fights you
actually,
had before?
my first pro show,
Uh,
forgive me, was 1994, August 21st of 1994. It was on my
so
son's birthday.
so how many fights did you get into? How many fights did you have before you went pro?
Amateur fights, I had
Uh-huh.
7 amateur fights.
Okay. And what was
And
and what was it now? What was it like now? Amateur fights, and I don't know what your record was, but what was it like the day you hopped the ring as a professional? Did it change when they went out there and said hit the gloves, or was it the same thing as sparring and practicing? You was ready. I mean,
no,
what was it
there were
like?
a lot of nerves that went on, but of course, I try. Even though I knew it was an exhibition, I tried to take the guy's head off, and I did. They actually stopped it in the fourth round. So so sure enough, the guy would have got stopped with 10-ounce gloves on instead of 16-ounce gloves. You know what I mean? But
Right.
the so I mean, it was still nerve-wracking. Had a lot of people in the audience and whatnot, but it was fun. It definitely was fun.
Cool, cool, cool. I always like boxing, and the closest I've been in the ring was like setting up a ring and a rock them sock 'em box heads.
But yeah,
Everybody like to hit, but don't like to get hit. But that's part of
of
the
course,
sport.
of course. I mean, that's the object. The object is to hit and not get hit.
So, what tips do you have for somebody that want to box or get into boxing? What would you recommend they start at?
I mean, you have to have a good amateur background. You know what I mean? It's very important to have that. Uh, not that it's going to make, uh, not that it's going to make you or break you, because let's face it, there's been plenty of guys in the past that have uh, gone pretty far without an amateur background, but very few. And then what happens is when they get into the rough trenches of a fight, they really don't know how to go back to boxing, and that's where the amateur program helps you. The amateur program helps you to know how to, box and defend yourself, and helps you to get ready for big tough fights. Because let's face it, in the amateurs, you can't pick and choose who you fight. In the amateurs, you have to fight the cream of the crop.
Cool. So strength, conditioning, dieting, all those are major factor in being in shape and condition to box.
Correct.
What about speed? What tips you got for somebody who wants speed?
Somebody who wants to try to increase their speed.
Yeah.
I think speed comes from just learning how to relax more. The more you relax, the more faster you are, more fluid you are with your hands. And that's a challenge for a lot of people. Just learning to relax more. Some people are blessed with good speed, and others just have to work at it.
Okay. So
And same with power.
So if there was, I know boxing has many elements and components, to being a skillful boxer and not somebody just slugging out in the ring. What are the two most important aspects you think? Is it footwork, hand speed, precision?
The two most important for me, I would
Uh-huh.
say dedication and heart. Okay. Because you all the footwork, the boxing ability, all that can be taught, but the dedication and the heart can't be taught. That's something that they have to want. So that's, to me, those are the two most important qualifications.
Okay. So
But
you like
if you're going down a list of things, then you can start talking about footwork and balance and a good stance and defense, offense. Then you can go down that whole list, and there's a whole list of things to work on. But to me, the two most important ingredients, I would say, is the mental toughness, which is what everybody calls heart, and then also the dedication.
okay. Now, being somebody boxing for a while, old school, what do you feel about the challenges today where boxers don't fight as much as they used to? Back in the day, cats would fight like 4 or 5 fights a year. Now they like fighting like 4 or 5 fights a decade.
Well, I think part of that is because of them too. I mean, it's just the whole industry in general. Everybody wants to try to protect their record. They want to pad their record.
Right.
And let's face it, that's not happening. Back in the day, when I say back in the day, I'm going back over 20 years ago. People, they just fought. It wasn't about, oh, I have to be 16-0. No, what's the difference of being 16-0 or 10-6? The guy 10-6 was battle time. The guy 16-0 bought a lot of tomato cans. So I'd be more fearful of fighting the guy 10-6 than I would be the 16-0 guy.
I agree with you on that one. The 10-6 guy has more fights. He's more vulnerable and he's more accessible. So he's like, hey, you can get it. Anybody can get it any given day.
Exactly. It depends on who those 6 losses were against. You can look at a guy in for years they've talked about. You got a guy from.
You there? Hello.
Okay.
Okay, you back.
Somebody was trying to call me. Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem.
You got a guy in Philly who's 5-5 going up against a guy who's 8-0. Well, you gotta see who the guy 5-5 fought. You know what I mean? He might have fought some real tough guys. So the story was for many years, you gotta be more concerned about a guy from Philly who's 5-5 than a guy from Alabama who's 8-0. Okay, so those are the differences.
Okay, well taken. So being an amateur fighter, now pro fighter, how many pro fights did you have, and how long did you fight as a professional?
I had just that one pro fight, that one exhibition. That was it.
But you won. What happened? That's a short career. What happened?
Yeah, but it was more like I can say I was wise enough to know that it was either I was going to go with the flow with the people that were around me, or I was going to just go ahead and start my own business as I already had my own business at the time. So it was like, do I make money and raise and take care of my kids that way, or do I stay in the boxing pro game, which was a very dirty game and a game that you had to have a lot of patience for, and I just didn't have that at that time.
Okay. So what was the move after boxing? What did you do before you got back?
Well, no, I started my own business, which was which I started my own business prior to the boxing, but was reupholstering furniture. And so I just started my own. I had my own business, which took a lot of my time and dedication. And then a few years later, I started my own gym as well. And then
So where did King Promotions come from? What gave the ideology for that, and how did that come to
so
fruition?
the King's Promotions came from, I opened up my gym first, which was in 1995, which
Okay.
the gym was called King's Gym, which stood for kids in need of guidance. Actually, 1994 it was. I didn't at that time. I didn't have King's Promotions established. I just did a show under Marshall Kauffman. Uh, but in 1990, end of 1994, beginning of 1995, when I started my gym, it was called King's Gym, which is an acronym for Kids in Need of Guidance. And so, being that I had the gym, I thought, well, let me just name my promotional company King's Promotions as well. And that's how that came about.
So when you came up with the kids in need of guidance, that was like to help kids with discipline or structure, or just to give back to the community. What was the
It
thought
was a
process?
way for me to reach inner city kids and help get them off the streets. Where I'm at, I'm in the inner city, so uh, I came up. My story was, at age 18, I got arrested for sales of marijuana at the time when it wasn't, of course, it wasn't legal at that time. Uh, and then I did time, and so in the inner city, there was a lot of kids doing things that weren't right for them, I should say. And so my goal at that time was just to use boxing as a tool to get kids off the streets. And so I opened up my gym free of charge to kids in the inner city. And then it got to a point where it sort of became a babysitting program. And I had to, no, for real. I used to have parents just drop their kids off because they knew I wasn't charging anything. And then it got to a point where I said, no, I got to put a value on this. And then I started charging and putting a value on it. And then the memberships went from having 100 kids down to like having 35 or whatever it might have been, and that was okay. I wanted to have more quality instead of quantity, and so but you cut out a lot of the people that were just dropping their kids off for babysitting, you know and so that's how the gym got started back in 1995.
Okay. So what brought on King Promotions from the gym? You saw a lot of talent there and opportunities, or what brought
Well,
you to get back in the industry?
what got the King's Promotions was that as I was doing it, I knew that some of the fighters that I had that were, a couple of years later that I was training,
Mhm.
uh, ended up had some potential and whatnot. Some amateurs going to pro, some that were already pro, coming from one gym coming to my gym. Yeah, so when I started doing the promotional company, I knew I needed a checkbook. I needed to run it as a business, and that's when I started King's Promotions. And then later on, I want to say 2004. It might have been 2004. I incorporated into King's Promotions. Before I just ran it as the name of King's Promotions, but then I think in 2004 I actually incorporated it into King's Promotions.
Okay. So do this. Let me know this. So what are some of the fights and some of the boxers that you've worked with or trained?
Oh man, the list goes on. My let me start with the world champions I had. Okay,
Okay.
but I'll go from the ones I trained, and then the ones I promoted.
Mhm.
The ones I trained was Hasim Rahman, former heavyweight champion of the world,
Wow.
uh, who knocked out Lennox Lewis. Okay, I trained Hasim Rahman. Then I had welterweight world champion Kermit Cintron. I took Kermit Cintron from scratch and took him through the amateur program and took him to a world championship. Uh, and so Cintron was, one of the most feared welterweights at one time. A big puncher. I love punchers. Uh, and then my son was number one in the country as an amateur, and went on to have a very good professional career and fought the likes of Luis Ortiz and Chris Arreola, beat Chris Arreola, uh, and so he ended up with a pro record of 34-4 till he was all done. 32-4. I'm sorry, and then. And then I had other pros I trained, like Rob Calloway, who was number 4 in the world as a cruiserweight. And Then I had the likes of Jarvis Sims and a number of other French contenders as well. But I was in a small town in Reading, and so I built a name up for myself in terms of training guys and doing what I did. You know, hey, look, to train the heavyweight champion of the world, and we were together for about 7 fights. Would have been longer, but Hassan Rahman had about 12 trainers in total throughout his career, and so that was my training thing. And then as I was promoting, some of the fighters I worked with and still work with, some. I mean, I had Alicia Baumgartner, who was the undisputed lightweight champion of the world, super featherweight, I should say, champion of the world, and still is a undisputed super featherweight of the world. That's Alicia Baumgartner. Of course, I had Kermit Cintron. I took to a world champion. I had Raisa Lean, who was out of Vegas. A guy named Michael Fox. I have, of course, my son, and then I have a couple real good French contenders as well. And the likes of right now, I got a kid named Atif Burlington, okay, who's 11-0 with 9. I got another real pure puncher in Quadiro Albright, who's 11-1 with 11 knockouts. I got a young kid named Julian Gonzalez, who's 15-0 with 11. I got a kid named Bryce Mills, who's 17-1. So I have a number of fighters that the list goes on. I got Paige Shute, who Paige is now 6-1. Who else is there?
Paige, the Canadian boxer?
Correct.
He has to cover the first issue. He's a hell of a guy, man. Man, you have a repertoire of fighters, man. Wow.
Yeah, and mostly a lot of women as well. I got a girl from Canada named Bree Alley. I got another girl under contract, McKenna Tansley. I got a girl named Stephanie Hahn from El Paso who's fighting for the world title in February 22nd. Then I got a girl named Danielle Perkins who's fighting Carissa Shields for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. February 2nd. That's going to be in Flint, Michigan.
That's February 2nd?
Yes.
That's your boxer fighting Carissa?
Yes.
Wow. Man, you have a lot of champions and a lot of people.
Hopefully soon to be the undisputed champion herself.
Man, you got a lot of champion and championship contender people in your roster, man.
Yeah. It just takes over the time and a lot of hard work and a lot of money spent.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Man, just a little brief history, what we're doing over here. At Square Magazine is more than a magazine. We're known as being the entity of networking for boxing. We're trying to get the little people and the big people and the people in the middle together. So with our interviews, the interactive magazine, the clubhouse conferences we do, and our yearly conference, and we don't know if it's going to be in Las Vegas or Reno, but we're bringing like the ring announcers, the boxing promoters, the designers that make the costumes for the boxers, the people desire to be ring girls, or if you're about to be a trainer or whatever, into the network. There's no networking entity for boxing. Either you know somebody in or you're out and you don't get in. It's closed off. And we want to open that bridge of networking with people and bring it all together. And that's our mission with Square Ring Magazine. It's not just showing the knockouts and the new champions and the fallen champions and telling stories of people on the way. It's about the whole entity of boxing. We want to bring it all together. That's our mission at Square Ring Magazine.
Okay.
And I appreciate you coming on today and sharing so much history. I did not know. I mean, I read the bio and I knew a little bit about King Promotions and you, but I didn't know the depth of the champions and the imprint that you put on boxing, man. Wow.
In 2016, I promoted 33 TV shows. I did a lot of work with PBC. I was PBC's #1 promoter in 2016 and 17. And then they transitioned and switched everything over to TGB. And even in those times, I still was doing a lot of PBC events as well. Not as many as 33, but you know, the last PBC event I did was July 2nd, I believe it was. July 2nd, of 2023 or 22 with Blue Tennis. So that was 23. It was, yeah.
Wow. Man, you have made an astounding imprint on the sport of boxing. And I'd like to congratulate you on it, bro. I didn't know the extent of it. I learned a lot in this interview, and hopefully our listeners did too.
Okay,
Um,
all right.
I'm gonna have to have you back, man, with all the gems and jewels you have, bro. I mean, wow. Let me ask you
I
this.
appreciate that.
So with you being a boxer and retiring after your first professional match and decided to become a promoter, what was it like when you got your first title match as a promoter or a trainer?
Uh, as a trainer, the first one was, of course, Kermit Cintron. So that was a true dream come true. I mean, so it was pretty powerful. He beat Teddy Reed on HBO for that. So that was a great feeling. Can't even put it into words. It was just a great feeling.
I mean, as a coach, you have to train the person and get them to understand what you see in them that they might not see in themselves. And oftentimes, coaches fail because you can only give them your experience and your light. And it's up to them to take the torch and keep running with it and believe in themselves. Because in the end of the day, they're in the ring, not you. But you can give them the
Correct.
guidance and the toolage if they listen and they embrace
Correct.
that. So
Correct.
it's a blessing when you can put the recipe with the knowledge and that you have the people that will take that knowledge and complete the assignment, and then together the
Mhm.
dream work when teamwork.
Yeah,
It got to be a
you're right.
wonderful feeling.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Because I know it's frustrating. It's kind of like a parent. You see them in there not doing what they need to do right. You want to smack them. No, I didn't tell you
You ain't lying.
that.
I've done that before. So
Yeah, this is wonderful. Now let's back and switch gears for a second. Now, what was it like the first time you did a show, a promotion, and you did a title fight, and what was the reaction, and what was the feeling for that?
first time I did a boxing show, it was
Mhm.
nerve wracking. I lost money. I was, you know, didn't sleep all night. First time I did a title fight of my own. Trying to think when it was. I can't remember. It was through a PBC show that I've done a title fight. So
Okay.
uh, can't remember what it was like. Because but there's more. When I did it on my own, I had a when you got paid. There's so many fees that people don't realize that go into it. A lot of expenses behind the scenes. So you pay the sanctioning fees until fly them in and pay extra money for judges and whatnot. So it's a lot of work. It really is, to say the least.
It's a full production.
Oh yeah, no, it is. It really, yeah, that it is.
But I mean, my thing was I wanted to get the understanding of how it was from like someone that was an amateur become professional, now a trainer, and now you're doing your own events. The level of involvement in the sport and momentum you've gained in the imprint. I mean, you have imprints on all levels: amateur, professional, trainer, now promoter. It's not too much more beyond that, man.
I have I'll put it this way. I got a lot of wisdom, you know, when it comes to the boxing game, But but it's a lot of years of hard work and sacrifice and a lot of rejection. Uh, but you have to keep grinding.
So let me ask you this: how can my listeners get a hold of you, social media wise, if they want to come train or have you promote them, or what's the process?
On my website is kingsboxing.com. My Instagram handle is I want to say It's Kings Promotions. I gotta look at it to make sure, so I'm not wrong here. Uh, but I want to say that's Kings Promotions because I'm not good with the whole social media thing. Uh, and then Facebook's just under Marshall Kauffman, of course, But I'll tell you right now, my I'm trying to see where my profile is. How do you tell what your profile is here? Let me see here.
Well, they
Where's
definitely
my
know
profile?
promotions.
There it is. Yeah, it's Kings. So here it is. Kings underscore promotions is what it is on Instagram. Okay. And Twitter is also the same thing. So So if they want to get a hold of me, they can go to hold of me through that.
Are you looking for new champions at the current time to train or promote?
I'm not looking to train anyone. I don't want to train anymore. Those days are gone.
Come on,
Too
Marshall.
much.
Somebody
Too
can
much.
come up and say, "I got it, coach.
No.
I need you, coach."
No, the only way I would train is if I had somebody like a Tyson Fury, where it was worth it. You know what I mean? But the days of training, I like to be an advisor if it came to that. If someone wanted to bring me out to their camp and I just advise, but people always don't like for me to put in my 2 cents because I'm pretty firm about what I want. But I do advise Marlene Esparza. I do, who's a former world champion at 112, just recently fought on the zone. So I do advise her yet as well.
Okay. Wonderful. So, guys, you heard it. If you want to be an inspiring boxer, you got to really put in the work. You got to really make the needle move and get the work in to get Mr. Kauffman's eye. He's not turning on new champions. He's not going out there looking for new inspiring boxers. He might take you if you're a boxer and you don't make some moves, but if you're inspiring,
look. If you tell me that you're all that and you're going to be the next world champion and all that, I'm going to put you to the test. You're going to fight. You're going to put it in a real fight, so I can see if this is true. You know what I mean? And one of those old sayings, put up or shut up. So that's pretty much where it's at. And so I will definitely, if I'm spending my money, I want to make sure I put you to the test.
Well, Marcia, if it's not on the Wii Fit, I only do my boxing on a Wii Fit.
I got you. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Wii Fit don't hit back.
It hit back, but hit the digital figure, don't hit the physical fit.
Yeah, right.
Man, this is an awesome interview, bro. Awesome interview. So, what can we look for next other than February the 2nd, the title fight? Maybe you have a new champion rising.
Then I got another world title fight February 22nd in El Paso, Texas, with Stephanie Hahn, 135 pounder, and then I have another show March 14th in Bethlehem, PA, just with up and coming, keeping my fighters in position and keeping them moving and keeping them striving towards being great.
Wow, that's a lot, bro. I mean, that's 3 title matches in like less than 3 months.
Yeah.
How do you keep it? How do you keep it all together? I mean, boxers are like celebrities, and everybody's entitled. And entitlements of so many people under one channel.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
How do you keep it together, man? That's a major task.
No, it is. It really is. Just one day at a time. I got a solid wife. I'm blessed with that. So, who sits back and allows me to do me, and spend crazy hours on the phone till late at night. And but it's just having good people around you as well. I mean, it makes a big difference.
Marshall, man, I'm glad we got to do the interview today and we get to speak with you. I would love to bring you back for some of your other fighters that before the matches come up. And also when we do our conferences, like this issue will be in the next February issue of Square Room Magazine. And unfortunately, we won't have the results in when
now where are you based out of?
Oakland, California, and also Vicksburg, Mississippi. We're in 2 areas.
Oakland and where?
Oakland, California, and Vicksburg, Mississippi.
Okay, got you. Mm-hmm. All right, I have a fighter who I think you'd love to have on the card as well, who's very flamboyant and sort of different, I should say. That's the one that's fighting January 17th, Tifo Burrowton.
Okay, where's that fight gonna be at?
In Philadelphia.
Okay, we'll have to make it out there, man. But I definitely want to bring you back on and talk about boxing because you have a lot of knowledge, you have a lot of footprint in the sport, and you're well respected and well renowned. And you're one of the guys that tell it like it is.
I'm gonna add something else to this. That I'm gonna add something else to this that you didn't know because you said you're from Oakland. You're from Oakland, California.
Yes.
Well, that's where. Okay, so then you know who Najee Harris is.
I know of him.
You know of him. He's the running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right.
Who's from Oakland, California, who was the #1 draft pick and came up through a homeless shelter, the whole bit. I trained him as well.
Get out of here.
So yeah, so he's from Oakland, California. That's the only reason I brought it up. I heard you mention Oakland, California.
Wow. See, it's crazy because Oakland is separated from San Francisco by a bridge that's about 3.5 miles long. And it
Okay.
seemed like North Carolina and South Carolina, but it was
Right,
the
right.
same
I got
state,
you.
and
Yeah.
it's only 3 miles away. And I grew up a 49er fan, man. I'm sorry, because the Niners always been in the area. The Raiders left like 2 or 3 times. They gone again in
If
Vegas.
I had to make a pick, if I had to pick one of the two, I'd pick 49ers too.
Right. So I got picked on a lot, being a Niner fan as a kid and growing up. And the cool part, I partied with a lot of the Raiders. A lot of Raiders, my boys. We partied. When they had Fabian Washington, when they had um, um, Dante Jones, they had Thomas Howard. These guys I would hang out. Kurt Morrison. We would hang out every Monday night, Sunday night after the game, go party. When they had what's the big quarterback they had that was with the Vikings back in like 2001. Dante Culpepper. All
Oh,
this.
okay. Culpepper. Yeah,
We
yeah.
hung like on a regular, but I was still a 49er fan. Bernie Davis and catch. It was still my boys. It was just crazy.
Yeah,
Even with
I'm sure.
Marshawn Lynch.
I'm sure they understand it because they could be like you said, Culpepper was a 49er at one time and he went to the Raiders. So
Right.
they understand. I mean, he was a Minnesota Viking and went to
Right.
the Raiders. So they
Right.
understand it. They know.
Yeah, but it's different culture in the Bay, man. It's like the Crips and the Floods.
I know.
The two teams. I'm
Najee
serious.
Harris
It's
told me all
crazy.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told me all about it.
But like I said, we definitely want to bring you back, especially some of the conferences that we have, and just to speak to inspired boxers and promoters and things of that nature, and be involved with our movement, being the integration and the networking entity for the sport, because you are our icon in the sport, bro. And like I said, you have made major milestones, and I really appreciate you and give you, your flowers and acknowledgement that that is a lot.
I
Me just
appreciate
covering
that.
the sport, I'm exposed and I get my eyes awakened to a lot of things that I didn't even know, and it's a constant growth. And like I said, just from the understanding, but most people don't comprehend, just to become a boxer is a total dedication, meaning that you have to work and support your family. You have to go in and train consistently. You neglecting yourself, your friends, your family for a goal you're trying to do. A lot of them don't make that cut. If you don't win, there's only one winner in a match. And if you don't win more than you lose, it's not going to work out the way you want it. I mean,
Correct.
it has to be your heart, because it's always somebody going to hit hard, hit fast, or maybe even look quicker or be better training you. But it's not the fighting the dog in the fight, it's the fighting the dog. You gotta have it in your heart and keep going. And so
Yeah.
for you, you've shown it as an amateur, as a professional, as a trainer, to instill that in others with the passion of the sport that you love, and now as a promoter. That is total dedication to the sport, bro. And so I really appreciate you. If you don't hear nobody else, you're hearing from me. I appreciate the sport that I love because you impact and bring a lot to it. You one of the spokes on the wheel, but each spoke is important for the balance of that wheel. And the sport will be the same with people like you doing the things that you do from all levels.
I appreciate that.
So I don't know if you get your recognition for that, brother, but I'm giving it to you because, like I said, it will not be the same. You can't have fights without promoters. You can't fight without trainers. You can't have fights without fighters. And you've done every step of that and motivate others, honestly. So I appreciate it, bro. I really do.
Well, thank you, brother. Thank you. I look forward to being back on the show sometime soon.
Okay, and we definitely got to get some of your fighters on, man, and let us tell their journey and story and stuff like that.
I'll shoot you a text with some contacts so you can reach out to them.
All right. So before we sign off, Mr. Kauffman, do us a favor. Tell them one more time what your website is, your social media, so they can reach out to you. And it's only if you're a proven fighter. Don't come with the hokey pokey to my play rock and socks and buckheads.
Website is kingsboxing.com. Okay, that's kingsboxing.com. My social media is kings_promotions at Instagram. Also, the same thing for my Twitter account as well. So reach out. Hey, and under Facebook is just Marshall Kauffman. So we are available. We're here. If you want to check out and see some of the prospects we have, just go to our site and you'll see them.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have to give it up for Mr. Marshall Kauffman. Thank you for coming out, Marshall, and we will have you
Thank
back
you.
again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Have a good day. All
You
right.
too.
Yep. Bye.